Today, as educators, we look at the young people that we teach and think about how different each one of them is as they learn and grow.
But do we ever think the color of their skin makes them less of a human? So we look at the history of our education in America and how it took many years for segregation to come to an end and for our government to finally see that humans are humans, no matter what the pigmentation of their skin is.
After the Civil War ended in 1865, America went through a period of Reconstruction and was hopefully bearing the hatchet of slavery and segregation once and for all. Unfortunately, between the years of 1870 to 1890, restrictions known as the Jim Crow laws ensured that African Americans should be separated from white Americans in all areas of life.
In 1896, the Plessy versus Ferguson case was brought to court and unfortunately confirmed that little over 100-year-old America was still arrogant in its ways of race. Judge Ferguson ruled that white and colored would continue to stay segregated.
This would continue on in America for schools and most other places for 58 years more. As this way of thinking carried forward in our country, people continued to see whites as superior and everyone else as less. This meant earning less and learning less. Black children did not get the opportunities and experiences of those of white children.
African American teachers made about 1/3 of what white American teachers did. Unfair and unequal rights were breeding in our ground.
On February 12, 1909, white liberal Americans who were appalled at lynching against blacks and empathetic whites founded the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. This organization, which began because of one cruel, unjust focus on the brutality of lynching, started a nationwide outbreak that would reach out to African Americans, not only in the organization's area of New York, but the entire United States.
In the 1940s, the NAACP, which had grown to over 600,000 members, was made up of wise men and women and many lawyers trying to help bring equality and deal with legal matters.
The NAACP also began taking court cases dealing with education and the problems with equality. They primarily were focusing on universities and had great success in bringing balance within white and black universities. Now enter Linda Brown, a third grader forced to walk to a black school miles away with her father, when there is a white school right by her house. The NAACP recruited her family as well as other families willing to take this issue to court. Oliver Brown, Linda's father, asked to have Linda enrolled in the white school near their house, but the school refused.
The U.S. District Court for the District of Kansas heard Brown's case from June 25 through 26, 1951. At the trial, the NAACP argued that segregated schools sent the message to black children that they were inferior to whites. Therefore, the schools were inherently unequal. One of the expert's witnesses, Dr. Hugh W. Spear, testified that
if the colored children are denied the experience in school of associating with white children, who represent 90% of our national society in which these colored children must live, then the colored child's curriculum is being greatly curtailed. The Topeka curriculum or any school curriculum cannot be equal under segregation.
the Board of Education's defense was because segregation in Topeka and elsewhere went to many other aspects of life. Segregated schools simply prepared black children for the segregation they would face during adulthood.
The board also argued that segregated schools were not necessarily harmful to black children. Great African Americans such as Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, and George Washington Carver had overcome more than just segregated schools to achieve what they achieved. The NAACP lawyers led by Thurgood Marshall, a great man who would later become the first African American Supreme Justice, took the case to the Supreme Court in 1951. The case is known as Brown v. Board of Education. Marshall, along with his co-workers, brought up the 14th Amendment of the Constitution as their backing for allowing all children to have the equality of studying at any school, no matter the color of their skin.
Finally, in 1954, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Brown. On May 17, 1954, Chief Justice Earl Warren read the decision of the unanimous court.
We come then to the question presented. Does segregation of children in public schools solely on the basis of race, even though the physical facilities and other tangible factors may be equal, deprive the children of the minority group of equal educational opportunities? We believe that it does. We conclude that in the field of public education, the doctrine of separate but equal has no place. Separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. Therefore, we hold that the plaintiffs and others similarly situated for whom the actions have been brought are, by the reason of the segregation complained of, deprived of the equal protection of the laws guaranteed by the 14th Amendment.
This case helped bring equality to schools and began the desegregation of students. It didn't stop restaurants, public restrooms, and other places from segregating, but it helped the igniting of the flame of equality across America. Later on, civil rights would become an issue, and America would pursue her theme of liberty, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness for all Americans.
Now we as teachers in America have the opportunity to teach an array of students, looking at their individual traits and personalities, not the color of their skin.
We have not completely perfected how our culture looks at race, but we have made leaps and bounds in our education system.
Thanks to brave people like Homer Plessy, Oliver Brown, and Thurgood Marshall, we have overcome these obstacles and can have diverse classrooms where students can share and celebrate their differences and help the closed-minded become open.